Listen, my brothers, one of the hardest truths you'll ever face in this life is realizing that love ain't always what you thought it was. Sometimes the role you think you're playing is not the one you've been cast for. You might see yourself as her main man, her future, her everything, but in her story, you might just be the stand-in, the just in case, the insurance policy she keeps tucked away. And I say this not to break your spirit, but to wake you up, because a man that doesn't recognize when he's being played is a man wasting his time, his energy, and his God-given potential. So tonight, we're breaking down the 7 unmistakable signs you're just her backup plan. And if any of these hit home, don't get bitter, get better. You ever notice how the phone never seems to ring when she's at her best? You don't buzz when the sun's shining, when she's laughing with her friends, when she's celebrating a win. But let the night get quiet, let the world stop giving her attention, or let the man she really wanted disappoint her. Suddenly your phone lights up. What you doing? 3 words that look simple but carry a heavy truth. You ain't the man she thinks of first. You're the man she reaches for when there's nothing else left. That ain't love, brother. It's convenience. And the problem is convenience always feels like comfort in the moment, but it leaves you empty in the long run. Think about it. Real love shows up in the daylight. Real love don't just call when it's raining. It celebrates with you when the sky's clear. When somebody truly values you, they reach for you because of who you are, not just because of how you can fill their silence. They want to hear your voice after they get good news. They want to share joy, not just loneliness. But when she only hits you up at 11:47 p.m., when the room feels too quiet, when she just had an argument, or when the other guy didn't answer, you're not her piece, you're her plan B. You're not the person she builds with. You're the person she leans on until she feels strong enough to stand up again. Now, I ain't saying don't answer the phone. I ain't telling you to be cold-hearted. But what I am saying is recognize the role you're playing before you lose years of your life thinking you're the main character in a story where you're just an extra. Too many brothers spend months, even years, waiting for a woman to see their worth, not realizing she already decided the role she wants them in. If you only get attention in the shadows, she don't see you as light. She sees you as a flashlight, something to pull out when she's lost, then put away when the sun rises. Picture this. You're sitting there, phone by your side, waiting. You've been hitting her with those good morning texts, those how's your day, check-ins, always showing up with consistency. But she don't respond with the same energy. Maybe she leaves you on red until the night comes. Maybe she only reaches back out when her plans fall through. That's the cycle. You giving your best, and she only pulling from you when her world gets quiet. And here's the danger. If you let that become normal, you start believing that's all you deserve. You start mistaking her late night calls for affection, when really it's just convenience wrapped up in the disguise of attention. I've seen it too many times. A brother pours himself out thinking he's building a connection, when in reality he's just being used as a band-aid. She's hurt, she's bored, she's lonely, and you the easy fix. But band-aids ain't built to heal. They just cover the wound until the real medicine comes along. Ask yourself, do you want to be temporary or do you want to be essential? Because temporary feels good in the moment, but essential is what lasts. And I know what you're thinking, but what if she really likes me? What if she just doesn't know how to show it? That's the trap right there. Making excuses for behavior that already told you the truth. See, energy don't lie. If she truly valued you wouldn't just hear from her when the night is dark and her options are thin. You'd be in her daylight, in her victories, in her laughter. She wouldn't just call you because she didn't want to feel alone. She'd call you because you were the first person she wanted to share joy with. Let me give you a real example. I knew a brother who was in exactly this situation. Every time she got into it with her man, she'd hit him up. Every time she was lonely, she'd slide into his messages. And he kept convincing himself that one day she was going to see that he was the better option, the one who really cared. Years passed. He kept waiting. You know what happened? She married the other man. And he was left with nothing but memories of late night calls and promises that never belonged to him. That brother learned the hard way that being convenient to someone else will cost you your own growth, your own time, your own destiny. So you got to start asking hard questions. Why does she only reach for me when she's empty? Why does she never call when she's full? Why do I keep allowing myself to be somebody's last option when I know I got first option energy? These questions hurt, but they heal. Because once you start seeing the truth for what it is, you can no longer play the fool in your own life. And I want you to feel this, because it ain't just about relationships. This principle runs deep. How many times in life have we accepted being somebody's backup just to feel wanted? How many times have we let people place us on the bench, hoping one day they call our number, instead of realizing we were built to start in our own game? The same way she only calls you when she's lonely, life will only use you as much as you allow yourself to be used. Respect yourself enough to draw the line. Don't confuse her craving company with her craving you. Those are two different things. Craving company means she just don't want to be alone. Craving you means she wants you. Your mind, your spirit, your conversation, your energy. And when it's the second one, you won't have to guess. You won't have to sit there decoding mixed signals. You'll know, because she'll show you in the daylight, not just in the midnight. So here's the truth, brother. If the only time your phone lights up is when her world is dark, you ain't love. You're a light switch. Something she flips on when she needs brightness and flips off when she's done. But a real king don't play that role. A real king knows he deserves a throne, not a drawer where she keeps her flashlight. And I promise you this, the moment you stop answering every "what you doing" at 11:47, the moment you stop settling for being convenience is the moment you open the door for somebody who sees you as necessity. Because real love ain't afraid of the daylight. Real love don't just show up when it's lonely. It shows up when it's alive, when it's thriving, when it's at its best. And that's the love you were built for. You ever stop and think why after months of being around, you still don't know her people? You don't know the best friend who's been with her since high school. You ain't met the cousin she always laughs about. You don't get invited to family cookouts or birthdays. You're in her world, but never in her circle. And let's be real, that's not by accident, that's by design. When somebody truly sees you as part of their future, they don't hide you. They don't keep you separate from the life they're proud of. They bring you into the fold. Because being serious about somebody means saying to the world, this is who I'm with. This is the person I see myself building with. So if you've been around for months, maybe even longer, and she still moves like you a secret, that's not love, that's hesitation. And hesitation is one of the clearest signs you're not the man she's betting on. Let me break it down for you. A woman that's proud of her choice will want her people to see it. She want her homegirls to meet you. She want her family to feel your energy. She want her community to understand why she picked you. That's natural, because love ain't something you keep in the shadows. Love is something you shine a light on. Now, when she's hiding you, you got to ask yourself, what's she protecting? What's she keeping out of view? It might be another man. It might be the fact she don't see you long term, or it might be that she don't want to admit to herself that you're not the one. Either way, you got to understand, when you being hidden, you're not the main character in her story. You're just a side note. I know a brother who's in this exact spot. He'd been talking to this woman for nearly a year. They went out, they spent time together, they had chemistry, but he noticed something strange. She never let him around her circle. If he suggested pulling up to her family's gathering, she had excuses. If he mentioned meeting her friends, she'd say they wouldn't get you. At first, he brushed it off. He thought maybe she was private, maybe she just liked to move low key, but one day, reality hit him. He saw a picture online of her at her sister's birthday, smiling, surrounded by friends and family, and standing right next to her was another man. That's when he realized she didn't have a problem bringing people into her world. She had a problem bringing him into it. That's the danger of ignoring the signs. When someone hides you, it means they're keeping their options open. They don't want to put you in front of the people that matter, because the people that matter will ask questions, and questions expose the truth. Friends will ask, is he the one? Family will ask, where is this going? And if she don't see you as the one, she'd rather avoid those conversations altogether. It's easier for her to keep you tucked away as her comfort zone rather than admit you're not the man she's betting her future on. And I get it. Sometimes you tell yourself, maybe she's just private. Maybe she's just taking her time. And sure, there are people who move cautious, but there's a difference between caution and secrecy. Caution is when she says, I want to take things slow, but I'm moving with intention. Secrecy is when months turn into years and you're still playing the invisible man. Don't confuse the two, because intention always reveals itself, and secrecy always hides behind excuses. Think about your own life. If you meet someone you truly value, don't you want your people to meet them? Don't you want to say, this is who I'm with, this is who's making me happy, this is who's helping me grow? You don't hide that, you showcase it, because love makes you proud. Love makes you want to share. So when that pride ain't there, it means the feeling ain't there. And here's another piece of game. When you don't meet the inner circle, you missing out on the biggest sign of where you stand. See, friends and family tell you the truth. They don't sugarcoat. They'll let you know if they think you're good for her. They'll give you insight into how she really talks about you when you're not around. Meeting her circle is not just about validation, it's about clarity. And when she keeps you away from that, she's not just hiding you from them, she's hiding the truth from you. I've watched brothers waste years because they accepted being hidden. They told themselves, it's okay, she just likes to keep things private. But deep down they knew. They knew if she was really serious, she'd be introducing them, she'd be integrating them, she'd be weaving them into her life. Instead, they were just a separate compartment, a side piece of her existence that never blended with the rest. And you gotta understand, being kept in that compartment is the same as being kept on the bench. You're not the starter, you're just a substitute. You deserve to be more than a secret. You deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to walk into a room and know that the person you're with is proud to stand next to you, not hesitant to be seen with you. Don't settle for someone who hides you in the dark when you were built to shine in the light. Because love that hides is love that hesitates, and hesitation is love that ain't ready. The truth is, if months have passed and you're still invisible to the people who matter to her, then you gotta face it. You're not the one she sees in her future. And as much as that stings, it's better to face it now than to waste more of your time hoping for a promotion that ain't coming. A man that values himself won't let himself be hidden. He'll recognize the difference between someone protecting their peace and someone protecting their options, and he'll choose to walk away before he spends years being a secret in somebody else's story. Because at the end of the day, love that's real don't keep you in the shadows. Love that's real pulls you into the light, brings you into the circle and says, this is my person. Anything less than that is a sign you're not where you think you are. And once you recognize that, you can stop wasting time being hidden and start building with someone who's proud to let the world know you're theirs. Energy don't lie. You can dress it up with excuses. You can blind yourself with hope. But when you look at the exchange, the truth is always there. Are you the one always initiating, always carrying the weight, always being the first to reach out, the one keeping the spark alive? You wake up in the morning with her on your mind. You send the good morning text. You check in throughout the day. You plan the dates. You drive the miles. Meanwhile, she responds when it's convenient. She puts in minimal effort. She gives you pieces while you're giving her your whole. That ain't balance. That ain't love. That's a transaction where you're giving more than you're receiving. And when you give more than you receive in love, it's not a partnership, it's a loan. And the sad part is, she's not paying you back in interest. She's draining your account while stacking up her best for someone else. Relationships are supposed to feel like two people pulling in the same direction. That doesn't mean it's always equal in every moment, but the intent is there, the effort is mutual, the care is shared. One day she might carry more, one day you might carry more, but overall it balances out because both of you are invested. But when the pattern becomes you giving 80 while she's giving 20, that ain't balance, that's exploitation. And the most dangerous part about it is that it doesn't feel like exploitation at first. It feels like love, it feels like devotion, it feels like you're proving yourself. But what you're really doing is teaching her she doesn't have to try. You're teaching her she can give less and still get everything. Let's be real. You know when you're overextending, you know when your energy feels heavy, when you're drained after every interaction, when you're questioning yourself late at night, wondering why you feel more alone with her than without her, and you start second guessing your worth because the effort you pour out doesn't come back in equal measure. And that's the cost of unbalanced love. It convinces you that maybe you're asking for too much, when really you're asking for the bare minimum, reciprocity. I knew a man who was in this exact place. Every day he'd send those good morning texts, those thoughtful reminders, those plans for the weekend. He'd drive hours just to see her, rearrange his schedule to make time, and she'd cancel on him last minute, reply to his messages when she felt like it, show up only when it was convenient. He kept convincing himself that maybe she was busy, maybe she was stressed. Maybe she'd come around if he just kept showing consistency. But consistency without reciprocity is just self-destruction. After months of carrying that weight, he realized he wasn't in a relationship. He was in a one-man show, performing for an audience that wasn't even paying attention. And that's what happens when effort ain't mutual. You end up drained, depleted, and questioning your value. You start mistaking your giving nature for love, when in reality, it's just unbalanced energy. Love is supposed to fill you, not just empty you. It's supposed to pour into you the same way you pour into it. But when you keep giving and she keeps taking, you're not in love, you're in debt. And the debt don't get paid back, it gets bigger until one day you realize you got nothing left to give. Here's the real truth. People put effort where they want to. Nobody's too busy to text back. Nobody's too busy to call, to check in, to show love. When someone wants you, they make space for you. They don't leave you wondering. They don't leave you chasing. They don't leave you carrying the weight by yourself. So when you find yourself doing all the heavy lifting, you got to stop lying to yourself. She's not too busy. She's just not prioritizing you. And that's a pill that hurts to swallow, but it's better than choking on false hope. And I know what you're thinking, but maybe if I just keep showing up, maybe if I just keep proving my worth, she'll see how much I care. Brother, understand this. Effort don't make someone love you. You can't outwork indifference. You can't earn a place in someone's heart that they don't want to give. Love that's real don't need convincing. It don't need you to prove yourself over and over again. It meets you halfway. It shows up because it wants to, not because you begged it to. And this is where you got to check yourself. Why are you comfortable giving 80 and accepting 20? Why do you feel like you got to overcompensate just to keep somebody around? That comes from a place inside of you that's scared to lose, scared to be alone, scared to face your own worth. But let me tell you this, you'll lose more of yourself trying to hold on to someone who won't meet you halfway than you will by letting go. Walking away from unbalanced love ain't loss, it's liberation. I've seen men stay in these lopsided dynamics for years, convincing themselves that one day it will balance out, but it never does. Because when you teach someone that they don't have to try, that lesson sticks. They start believing that your effort is enough for both of you, and you start believing that maybe you don't deserve more. That's the trap. And breaking free from it means understanding that love is not supposed to feel like chasing. Love is not supposed to feel like begging. Love is not supposed to feel like debt. It's supposed to feel like flow. It's supposed to feel like rhythm, like two people moving in sync, like a dance where both are giving and receiving. That's balance. That's reciprocity. That's love. So ask yourself right now, do you feel poured into or do you feel drained? Do you feel valued or do you feel used? Do you feel like you're in partnership or do you feel like you're making payments on a loan that's never going to be repaid? Because the answers to those questions will tell you everything you need to know. And once you see it for what it is, you got to have the courage to stop giving 80 to somebody who's giving you 20. Because the truth is, you don't deserve 20. You don't even deserve 50. You deserve someone who's willing to match your energy, someone who sees your effort and responds with effort, someone who meets you where you are. Anything less than that is theft. And you can't keep letting your soul get robbed in the name of love. When you sit back and really listen, not just to the words, but to the rhythm behind them, you'll notice something telling about how someone speaks on their future. The way a person talks about what's ahead reveals everything about where their heart is and who they see standing beside them when they get there. If every time she talks about what's next, it's me, I, and my, you got to pay attention. Because when somebody sees you as their partner, their language changes, turns into we, us, ours. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Words are the blueprint of vision. And if you're not in the blueprint, you're not in the plan. A woman who sees you as her man won't just talk about her dreams like their solo mission. She'll include you in them naturally, almost without thinking. She'll say things like, when we get a place, or when we travel, or when we build this together. She won't just dream for herself, she'll dream for the both of you, because partnership is about shared vision, and shared vision is what builds a foundation that lasts. But if you're sitting there listening, and she's telling you about the house she's gonna buy, the trip she's gonna take, the life she's gonna build, and your name never makes the picture, that's not by accident. That's because she doesn't see you in that frame. You're in her present, not her future. And here's where it gets dangerous. Too many brothers hear that me, myself, and I talk and still convince themselves it's just independence. They say, she's strong, she's independent, she don't need to mention me. But independence and exclusion ain't the same thing. A woman can be independent and still include you in her vision. She can chase her goals and still see you chasing right alongside her. So when she never uses your name in her future, it's not strength, it's silence. And silence speaks louder than words. I watched this play out with a man I know. He was with this woman for almost 2 years. He loved her, no doubt. And he thought she loved him too. They did the usual things, dinners, dates, weekends together. But whenever she spoke about the future, it was always solo. She'd say, I'm going to get my condo in the city. I'm going to travel to Europe next year. I'm going to start this business. And he'd nod along thinking, of course I'll be there with her. But he was adding himself to plans she never wrote him into. And sure enough, one day she told him straight, I never saw this going long term. She didn't lie to him. Her words had been telling the truth all along. He just didn't want to hear it. That's the thing. The truth is usually right in front of us, but hope makes us blind. We hold on to how someone makes us feel in the moment and ignore what their vision says about tomorrow. But love that don't plan ahead is love that don't last. If she never talks about we, if you're never a part of her, us, then you're just filling space until the one she truly wants shows up. And here's the deeper truth. Being temporary in someone else's life keeps you from stepping into permanence in your own. When you invest in a situation where you're not part of the vision, you're delaying your own growth, your own alignment, your own destiny. You're putting energy into soil that was never meant to grow your tree. And that's why you feel restless. That's why you feel like something's missing. Even when things look good on the surface, your spirit knows when you're not really in the plan. You got to ask yourself, why am I comfortable being left out of the vision? Why am I okay with being someone's present but not their future? That's not love. That's settling. And settling is dangerous because it tricks you into believing that comfort is the same as connection. But connection without direction is just wandering. You don't want to wander in love. You want to walk with purpose. And purpose requires two people moving toward the same horizon. When someone truly wants you in their life, they can't help but include you when they talk about what's next, even in small ways. She'll say, we should check out that place. We got to go there together. I want us to experience this. Those little inclusions are proof that she sees you in her tomorrow, not just her today. And if those words are missing, if she never once says we when she's painting the picture of her dreams, you got to stop pretending. You're not in the painting. I know it hurts to face that. I know it stings to realize you might just be filling space. But better to face the sting now than to waste years chasing a vision you were never a part of. Because time is the one thing you can't get back. And every year you spend being someone's for now is a year you're not investing in being someone's forever. And don't fool yourself into thinking that if you just stick around long enough, she'll eventually add you in. Vision doesn't work like that. When someone sees you in their future, they see it early. They speak it, they feel it, they act on it. When someone doesn't, they can keep you around for comfort, for company, for convenience, but not for commitment. And no amount of waiting will change that. So you got to start listening differently, not just to the words, but to the absence of words. Pay attention to what's not being said. Pay attention to the gaps. Pay attention to how you feel when she talks about the next 5 years. Do you feel included or do you feel like a spectator? Because your gut will tell you the truth, even when your heart doesn't want to hear it. But at the end of the day, you can't afford to build a life with someone who's not building with you. You can't afford to keep investing in a dream that doesn't have your name on it. You were created to build, to grow, to expand. And the person standing next to you should be talking in we, not just me. If not, you're not her partner. You're just a placeholder. And life's too short to waste on being a placeholder in someone else's story when you're supposed to be the main character in your own. Think about how it feels when you reach out, when you really need her time, her presence, her energy. And every single time the answer is the same. I'm busy. She's got something else going on, something more important, something that always seems to outrank you. But let the tables turn. Let the moment come when she wants something and suddenly you're supposed to be available at the snap of a finger. Your schedule better open up. Your priorities better shift because now it's her turn to need. That's not balance. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's hierarchy. That's her standing above you, setting the rules while you play the role of servant instead of equal. Love doesn't operate on a one-way street. It's not supposed to be her shining while you stand in the shadows waiting your turn. Partnership means mutual sacrifice. It means both of you bend for each other. Both of you make time. Both of you show up. If you're the only one rearranging your life while she keeps hers intact, then you're not her priority. You're her convenience. You're the one she turns to when her first choices fall through. And if that don't sting when you really let it sink in, it should. Because being an option in somebody's life when you're giving them priority in yours is a form of self-betrayal. I've seen brothers fall into this pattern without even realizing it. They normalize being second. They normalize being the one who waits. A man I know used to drop everything the moment this woman called. If she needed a ride, he was there. If she wanted company, he cleared his plans. But whenever he reached out, whenever he asked her to pull up or show up for him, she always had something else to do, a friend to see, work to finish, an excuse ready in her pocket. And he stayed, thinking that his loyalty would eventually make her loyal to him. It never did. All it did was teach her that his time didn't matter, his needs didn't matter, his place in her life was flexible. She was the headline and he was the fine print. You got to stop and ask yourself, do you really want to live like that? Do you really want to be the one waiting at the bottom of the list, hoping one day she moves you to the top? Or do you want to be with someone who puts you in the front row without hesitation? The way she treats your time tells you everything about the way she values you. If her best energy is always reserved for someone else, if her brightest moments are always shared with people who aren't you, then you are not her main choice. You're her backup. And backup status is dangerous because it convinces you that scraps are meals. It convinces you that occasional attention is enough, that a few good moments make up for all the times you were overlooked. But deep down, you feel it. You know when you second. You know when she's laughing harder with someone else, posting pictures with someone else, giving her best to someone else, and only showing up halfway for you. And the longer you accept it, the more you train yourself to settle for being overlooked. Here's the truth. Everyone makes time for what matters to them. If she wanted you as a priority, she would make space. She would cancel something for you. She would shift her schedule. She would go out of her way, just like you do. But when it's always one-sided, when it's always you bending and her standing tall, that's not compromise, that's control. And love is not supposed to be control. I know it's hard to admit because when you love someone, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself she's just busy, she's got a lot going on, she'll come around. But pay attention to the patterns. Being busy once or twice, that's life. Being busy every time you need her while magically having time when she needs you, that's a pattern. And patterns tell you the truth. You deserve to be somebody's first choice. You deserve to be the one they call when they get good news, not just when they're bored. You deserve to be the person they make plans with, not just the one they hit up when their other plans fall through. If she only shows up when she has nothing better to do, then you're not in her heart the way she's in yours. And no matter how much you give, you'll never change that. There's a deep kind of loneliness that comes from being with someone who doesn't prioritize you. It's worse than being alone. At least when you're alone, you know where you stand. But when you're with someone who makes you feel invisible, who makes you second to everything else, you start doubting your worth. You start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why won't she choose me? But nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is that you're trying to fit into a place in her life that she never meant for you to hold. You got to stop confusing availability with love. Just because she shows up sometimes doesn't mean she's showing up the way you deserve. Just because she gives you attention when it benefits her doesn't mean you're her priority. True partnership is two people who put each other first, who sacrifice for each other, who know that love means sometimes saying, I'll push this aside because you matter more. And if that's missing, you're not in love, you're in waiting. Waiting to be chosen, waiting to be valued, waiting to be seen. And the truth is, you could wait forever and nothing would change. Because if she wanted to choose you, she already would have. If she wanted to prioritize you, she already would be. Love don't need convincing. It don't need begging. It don't need you to sacrifice your dignity in hopes that one day she'll wake up and finally see your worth. So the real question is this: do you want to be an option or do you want to be a priority? Because the answer lies in your own choices. As long as you accept being second, you'll stay second. As long as you keep bending while she stands tall, you'll keep carrying weight that was never meant for you. But the moment you decide you won't be second to anything or anyone, that's the moment you step into your power. That's the moment you make room for someone who will put you first without hesitation. Because love that makes you second is not love that lasts. And you weren't built to be second. You were built to stand beside someone who sees you as equal, who values your time the same way you value theirs, who shares their best with you instead of giving you leftovers. Anything less than that is backup status. And you don't deserve to live as somebody's backup when you were made to be somebody's first. When the only thing that keeps two people tied together is what happens between the sheets. You got to be real with yourself about what you're in. That's not a relationship. That's a situationship dressed up as something more. Physical chemistry can trick you because it feels powerful It feels magnetic. It feels like fire. But fire without foundation always burns out. You can't build a home on sparks. You can't build a legacy on passion alone. Passion is like a match. It'll light up quick. It'll burn hot, but it won't last if there's nothing steady to hold it. And too many people mistake that fire for love when really it's just escape. See, intimacy is supposed to be an expression of love, not the definition of it. It's supposed to be one layer of the bond, not the whole bond itself. When it's the only thing holding you together, then what you have is fragile, it's shallow, it's temporary. Because the moment life brings storms, the bills, the stress, the disagreements, the growth that requires patience and understanding, that fire won't hold you. A relationship built only on passion crumbles when tested. Because passion doesn't know how to solve problems. Passion doesn't know how to heal wounds. Passion doesn't know how to carry the weight of commitment. I've seen brothers fall into this trap countless times. They mistake chemistry for connection. They think because the nights are good, the bond must be real. But then the sun comes up and there's no conversation, no vision, no partnership, nothing that feeds the mind or the soul. You're left sitting there realizing you don't really know each other beyond the surface. And that's when the truth hits. You're not her partner, you're her outlet. You're not her foundation, you're her distraction. She comes to you not to build, but to release. And once she finds that stability she's searching for, she'll leave that outlet behind because she never saw it as home to begin with. And I know that's hard to admit because when the passion is strong, it feels real. It feels like maybe this could turn into more if you just keep showing up. But energy don't lie. If she can't open up to you, if she can't share her fears, if she can't talk about her dreams, if she can't let you see her in her vulnerable moments, then what you have is not love. It's therapy she doesn't have to pay for. It's stress relief that she uses until she doesn't need it anymore. And you got to check yourself too. Are you mistaking intimacy for intimacy? Because there's two kinds, physical and emotional. Physical intimacy can be instant. Anybody can share a bed. Emotional intimacy requires trust, vulnerability, time, and intention. And if you've been around for months, maybe years, and you still haven't built emotional intimacy, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a holding pattern. You're her comfort zone, not her partner. Think about it like this. Real relationships are built like empires. They require bricks of trust, pillars of respect, walls of communication, and a roof of shared vision. Passion is the fire in the hearth, the warmth inside the home, but it can't build the home itself. If all you have is fire with no bricks, no walls, no foundation, then you're not building an empire, you're just watching flames. And flames without structure will always burn out. I remember a brother who lived this lesson. He was with this woman for over a year and everything felt electric. The connection was undeniable, or so he thought. But outside of the physical, they never built anything. No real conversations, no planning for the future, no growth together. And one day, just like that, she told him she met someone else. Someone who made her feel secure, someone who listened, who understood, who built with her. He realized in that moment that he was never her partner. He was just her escape. And the worst part was he had mistaken being needed in moments of stress for being wanted in moments of peace. That's the danger of confusing intimacy with love. Love shows itself in how you grow together, how you weather storms, how you elevate each other mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If those things are missing, then no matter how strong the passion feels, you're not anchored. You're floating, waiting for the tide to pull her somewhere else. And I want you to hear me clear. There's nothing wrong with passion. Passion is beautiful. Passion is powerful. Passion is necessary. But passion without depth is like music without lyrics. It sounds good for a while, but eventually you realize it has no story. Real connection is when you can sit in silence and feel understood. When you can talk for hours about your dreams. When you can argue without falling apart. When you can cry without shame. When you can build and grow and evolve side by side. That's the kind of bond that lasts. So if the only thing keeping y'all together is what happens behind closed doors, then you gotta ask yourself what happens when those doors open. Who are you when the passion fades? Who are you when life gets hard? Who are you when she needs more than fire, when she needs water, structure, guidance, support? Because if you can't answer those questions, then you already know what you are in her life. You're temporary, you're a placeholder until she finds the balance she's looking for. Don't fool yourself into thinking that time will change it. Time doesn't turn passion into love if the foundation isn't there. Time just prolongs the truth. The truth is, if she can't connect with you beyond the physical, if she can't open up and build with you, then she doesn't see you as her partner. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you can stop wasting your energy being someone's release and start investing it in someone who wants to build an empire with you. At the end of the day, passion is supposed to enhance love, not replace it. Fire is supposed to warm the home, not be the home itself. And you weren't built to be somebody's stress reliever. You were built to be somebody's foundation, somebody's partner, somebody's equal. Don't settle for being the flame that burns out when you were meant to be the empire that stands forever. Fellas, let me leave you with this. Knowing your value is the first step to protecting your peace. A man that knows his worth won't let himself be a backup plan because he understands he was built to be somebody's first choice. Don't get stuck trying to convince someone to see your value. If she don't recognize it, that's not your queen, that's a detour. And the longer you stay parked there, the longer you're delaying your destiny. So if these signs hit home, don't get angry. Get honest, step back, reclaim your energy, invest it in your growth, your purpose, and the people who truly value you. Because the moment you stop settling for being the backup is the moment you finally step into being the main character of your own story.